Hello and welcome to the Savage Stream, the weekly live stream where we talk all things Star Trek. And today we are playing that little old chestnut, Trek, Marry, Kill. So if you're watching this in real time, we played this game last week and it was super fun, so I wanted to play again. But if you're watching this not in real time, hi, future people. Basically, this is how the game goes. I'm going to pick 10 random episodes from Star Trek: The Next Generation, and then we're going to talk about whether we think it is a Trek, meaning it's good, it's fine. It's kind of like average, it can be anywhere from like, it's not that great to like, it's pretty good. It's a pretty wide category. Or Marry. That means this is like the best, like one of the top episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Or a Kill. And that means it is one of the worst episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation, or possibly one of the worst episodes of Star Trek of all time, which we had one of those land on the list last time. I've got here the names of what we found last week. Oh, you can't read it anyways. I've got the names of the things that we found last week. So if we get any duplicates this time, I'm just going to roll again to get another episode. Hello to everyone watching live. Hello to everyone watching on the replay. If you are on the replay, timestamps will be below so you can skip ahead at any time. To those of you who are in the away team, drop a little moopsie in the chat. I want to say hello and drop a moopsie in the chat. All right, while you're doing that, I'm going to roll and see what we get. All right, Season 2, Episode 11. We definitely have not done that. Let's see what that is. 2, hold on. It is Contagion. Contagion. The Enterprise's computer system falls prey to a mysterious electronic virus which programs the ship to self-destruct. I don't remember this episode. Is this the episode where Picard gets beamed out by an electricity monster? Yeah, I don't remember this at all. Or is this one of the very many... Ew, look at all the moopsies. Or is this one of the many episodes where... Hold on a second. Let me look it up. Star Trek TNG Contagion. Oh, is this the one because it's with Pulaski? Is this the one with the kids with like the superpowers? Nope, that's not it. The Enterprise and a Romulan bird of prey are attacked by the same computer virus that has already... Oh, is this the Iconian one? Is this the one with the Iconians? Iconian. I think it is, right? Yes. Okay. So I don't remember all the details of this episode. Windgrace is here. Iconian Gateway. Thank you. You guys already knew by the time I looked through all of Google. So I don't remember all the details of this episode at all. Obviously, I couldn't even place where this episode was, but I do remember that there was, where was the Iconian Gateway exactly? Was it like a ship that was adrift or a space station? It was something. The Federation was there and the Romulans were there, and they discovered this gateway that's like, it opens a portal to just anywhere, which was very cool, but also very dangerous. And so they didn't want the Romulans to get their hands on it, and maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, the Iconians used this for ill gain. I don't remember. I might be confusing them with the Vardoir in Voyager, but I think they used it for a bad reason or something. But the Iconians are like long gone, and the station, planet, whatever, wherever this gateway is, it either is about to explode or they want to make it explode to keep it out of the Romulans' hands. This is a terrible rendition of this episode. But anyways, they have to escape. And by they, I mean, I think it was just Picard and Data. I think. There might have been maybe Worf. I'm not sure. But I think there was just like a few people in this away team, and they needed to escape before the big explosion. And so they were trying to use the gateway to get back to the Enterprise to get out. And when they jumped through it, somebody ended up on a Romulan ship. Maybe a Romulan ended up on the Enterprise. I don't remember. So obviously I'm probably not going to give this a really high score just because I can't remember it. However, I do remember how cool the Iconian Gateway was as a concept, like such a cool idea. And I do remember thinking the name Iconian was really, really cool too. And I have a vague recollection that Data saved the day, but I may be making that up. So on that note, I'm going to check out what you guys are saying in the chat. In the meantime, what do you think about this episode? Is this a Trek, a Marry, or a Kill? Once again, a Marry is going to be, it's like one of the best episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. A Kill is it's one of the worst episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And a Trek is like kind of anything in between. Okay. Hello, 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 everyone. It's the episode where they turn data off and on again. That happens in a couple of episodes. That good old off switch, that secret off switch that everybody knows about. Okay, no, this is the one with the transporter gate. We just did this episode on buffer time. Oh, what are the odds? Okay, so then Dustin, you are fresh into like exactly what this episode's about. When did you guys do this? Oh, you did it 2 weeks ago. Oh, I'm so bummed I missed it. I'm so bummed I'm missing buffer time because of my work schedule. That sounds like a really fun one. What'd you guys rate it on the show? The USS Yamamoto blown up. Rest in peace. A planet in the neutral zone. It was the Iconian homeworld. Oh, okay. Why were they there? Why was the Enterprise there at the Iconian homeworld? They used it to conquer. Okay, so it was them and the Vardwar that did this. That's a super interesting idea. This is the episode with Yamamoto blowing up at the beginning. Yes, Worf was there. It's a trek. Gavin's giving this a trek. The Iconians are in Star Trek Online. What do they look like? What do the Iconians actually look like? Because I don't think there's any visuals of them ever. Because Iconians also show up in Deep Space Nine. I mean, a Gateway does. So are they in Star Trek Online or just like the idea of them is there? The Trek reviewer says 7.5 out of 10. Is that what it got on buffer time? Or is that what you're giving it? Because would that make it a Trek? DJ Magic saying Trek. Dustin is saying Trek. PS2 Chipper saying can't remember the episode. So the Trek reviewer is saying I know Tasha turned data on. That's a different episode. That is a different episode. Okay, I'm going to give this one a Trek only because I don't remember it super well. And I tend to remember the episodes I either love or absolutely hate. I tend to remember those really well. There are 178 episodes of Star Trek, so some of them do slip the mind. And for some reason, this one's like, oh, okay, thanks, PS2 Chipper. All right, let's roll for another episode. It's messing up my system. Okay, this is 513, which we have not done yet. 513 is... Got to be a faster way to do this. Nah, this is going to be the fastest way. 513 is the Masterpiece Society. Okay, I do remember this one. So in the Masterpiece Society, there is this, I want to say xenophobic, but really they're isolated. This isolated colony of humans on a planet. I think it's a planet. I want to say it's a planet. And the Enterprise is doing something. They're trying to like blast a star or move a star or do something, and this like little piece breaks off and it starts heading towards these people's colony, and they are very isolated. They just want to be amongst themselves. Like they lost contact with Earth, I don't know, like 300 years ago or something like that, and they're trying to grow this perfect society. But this little shard of, or like this chunk of star or planet or whatever it was is heading towards them, and so the Enterprise needs to work together with them to try to move it to the side so it doesn't destroy them all. And so they go to the place and then they're like, fine, I guess we'll let you come down to our planet to help us out. Well, that just contaminates everything, because as soon as they get there, all the people on the planet are like, ooh, there's other people. There's space travel. I want to go see their ship. And now it kind of destabilizes this perfect society that they'd created, where everyone stays here and everyone works together and their gene pools are like carefully monitored and their relationships are carefully paired so that they mate and have the right, type of DNA for whatever the colony needs. And in the meantime, the head, I think his name was Aaron, the head of the society, falls in love with Troy, which is so sweet. And he's like, of all the genetically perfect women on my planet, somehow I managed to fall for you. This is like, probably of all of the TNG episodes, this is my favorite love story for Deanna. Because Riker is just a waste of time, okay? I know, granted, in the future they get married, whatever. But he was just stringing her along for all these 7 years. So like, I'm not on team Riker and Troy anymore. I was when I was younger. I'm not anymore. And then I felt like Troy and Worf was just weird. And other than Worf and Riker, every other man who's been into Troy was either manipulative or assaulting her. So this is the one time where she's with somebody who I think is really sweet and actually perfect for her. But of course they could never be, because he needs to be the leader of his society and could never leave. So this is the episode. I think it's really sweet. I think it's really cute. What do you think? Is this a Trek, a marry, or a kill? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. Going to read your responses, and then we will roll for another episode. That's what I give it, a 7.5 out of 10. Okay, so like a Trek. Wingray says the captain of the Yamamoto crossed the neutral zone to find the Iconians first. So the Romulans didn't get out and then ask. Didn't get out and then ask. Hold on. All their systems went oopsie. Okay, so the Yamamoto went in, then the Romulans went in, but then the computer virus from the Iconians destroyed everything. So that's what happened. Low Trek. Okay. Deanna Troi brings down a whole society. That was not her fault. That was the arrival of the Enterprise. It was everyone's fault. Plus, if she was successful in that, Aaron would be on the Enterprise right now, and Riker and Troi wouldn't be a thing. Trek, on the border of kill. It's pretty low end of mediocre. Dang, Dustin, tell me how you really feel. PS2 Chipper says Trek. They hook up with the Irish travelers, I think. No, that one was a different one. That one was, that stupid episode. Watch, I'm probably going to roll it next. That was the episode with the Mariposans. What was the name of that episode? That was a different one, very similar, but this time there was like this one ship of humans, and it like half the people wanted to lead their society one way, the other half wanted to do another way, so they went their separate ways, and one became those Irish, I don't know, like farmers or something. They had a lot of hay and a lot of animals and a lot of like felt. And then the other people were like super neat and tidy and were like cloning all their populations. And then at the end, the two societies hooked up. That was a different episode whose name I cannot. Oh yeah, it was called Up the Long Ladder, which apparently is the name of a poem or something. Yeah, that one's not going to get a Trek on my list. So hopefully we don't roll it. Is this the one with McCormick from Hardcastle? I don't know. Gavin says marry/kill. So is that question, you're not sure which one you want to do? Because those are like pretty opposite. DJ Maddox says, if not, I don't remember the episode. I don't know who McCormick from Hardcastle is, so maybe. Yes, I was trying to think of Up the Long Ladder. For me, I would give this one a Trek. I think it's really sweet. I think it's really cute. I kind of am with the Dustin. I'm not going to say kill, but like, I think I would agree with a lower Trek, like a Trek minus, just because this episode's great. It's sweet. I love it. But it's also like not very special in any way. It's not like the most special thing is Troy isn't getting assaulted for a change. And I also like the what I think is interesting is how the society's like, should we stay or should we go? And then in the end, they're like, they want to go, but they know they can't go because it's going to destabilize the society. So then the tech who's working with Geordi, or the scientist who's working with Geordi, maybe she's an engineer, I don't remember. They work together to save the day. But in the end, all of a sudden something's failing. And she's like, oh no, the dome is failing. We all have to leave. And Geordi's like, no, it's not. That's BS. It's not failing. She's like, okay, I just made that up because I wanted to leave. So then Aaron is like, being a good leader, I have to give you guys the option to leave. So if you want to leave, you can leave, but I really hope you all stay. And I think 32 of them or something like that left. So I think that's interesting. I think that whole like the perfect society and how can it be created is interesting. I think the episode itself, though, was not like blowing my socks off. You know what I mean? This is sounding like I need to do a TNG rewatch if I'm not remembering a lot of the episodes. Well, it's only 2 episodes, so maybe you'll remember the next 8. If I go there will be trouble. But if I stay, it will be double. Exactly. All right, let's roll for the next episode. Roll. Season 1, episode 9. I'm a little nervous. Because it started with season 1, but let's see. Whew, okay. The battle. A thought-altering device controlled by the Ferengi captain seeking revenge on Picard for his son's death threatens the life of the captain and the safety of the Enterprise. So I remember this one quite well. This is Damon Bach's first arrival on the scene. We see him again in season 7 when he tries to kill Picard's son, Jason Vigo, in revenge for his son dying. So here's the story behind why Damon Bach is so homicidally against Picard. Back in the day, there was some kind of battle. And Picard, when he was the captain of the Stargazer, which was his first command, was in a battle with this Ferengi ship, which was captained by Damon Bach's son. They were fighting, and then Picard did the Picard maneuver and was able to destroy his ship. And so Damon Bach was like, you killed my son. I need revenge. Which is kind of like they were at war. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. But anyways, this is his thing. And I think he also, I think it was this episode, or was it the one with Vigo? In one of the episodes, he has to like trick all the other Ferengi into working with him for this plot because there's no profit in it at all. It's just pure revenge, and revenge is not profitable. But in one of the episodes, he has to trick everybody else to go along with him. In any case, he uses this mind-altering device. It's just like this big orb, and he keeps turning it. And every time he turns it, it like makes Picard go even more crazy. And the whole idea is that it's transporting him back into the time when he was on the Stargazer. And he thinks he's on the Stargazer. And at the same time, they're playing this war game between the Enterprise, and it's not the actual Stargazer, is it? It might be the actual Stargazer. But this old derelict ship and the Enterprise, and they're playing these war games, and Riker's in charge of one ship, and then Wesley's over there, and Geordi's maybe over there. But like they split up the crew in half, and they're playing these war games. And so the idea that Damon Bach has is to like mind control Picard so that he attacks his own ship, and then they try to attack him, and then he dies, ? This is the thing with Damon Bach. His plans are half-baked at best. So it's always kind of hard to see where are you going with this? Wouldn't it be easier just to shoot him? Wouldn't it just be easier to shoot Picard than these elaborate games? Here's what I remember the most about this episode, though. 2 things. One is back in season 1, I don't know if you remember, but whenever the Ferengi came on screen, they were like really close to the camera, like ridiculously close. I remember that from this episode. You can see like up Damon Bach's nose. He's just so close to the screen. And I guess they did that because they didn't want to have to make the set for the rest of the show. I don't really know. I actually don't know the plan, but that was my hypothesis, that maybe they didn't want to make the rest of the set, so they just had the actor stand super close so they didn't have to have any background. The background was just all white. And then the orb thing, he kept turning it up, but he like kept turning it up to level 10. So he would like turn it up all the way. And then in the next scene, he would turn it up all the way. And then in the next scene, he would turn it up all the way. And me and my co-host on the TNG podcast, we were like, how many times can you turn it to level 10? Why do you keep turning it down? Like, if it's already at the highest it could be, what are you doing, dude? So anyways, it's a really fun episode. It's a good one. The Worm Game episode was with halfway in season 2. Okay, yeah, maybe I'm confusing that with another one. So I don't know what the crappy ship is in this episode, but there's some ship. Okay, hold on. So my question for you is this episode a trek, a marry, or a kill? Let me know in the comments, let me know in the chat, and then I will share my thoughts and we'll roll for the next episode. Oh, Gavin, when you say marry/kill, do you mean trek/kill? Because marry's like the top is top and kill is like the worst. It's an old TV show. Okay, I don't know that show. So the Trek reviewer says Trek for the battle. Karen says Trek. It's not intentionally funny, but it is campy. Gavin says kill. This is a terrible episode. Sela says, I really like this one. This is a Trek. PS2 Chipper says, marry. Wingray says, this is the episode where Crusher says headaches were eradicated. Oh, is this that episode? That's so funny that you remember that. Randall says, McCormick is the DS9 episode with Kira having to make a homesteader leave. Oh, that episode was so good and sad. Dustin, kill on the verge of Trek. So it's like a kill plus, like a high kill. One of season 1's better episodes, but it's still not great. That's kind of the hard thing is this game is like for all 7 seasons. It was the Stargazer. Okay, good. These were the Roddenberry years. The ship in the battle is the Stargazer. Okay. So I'm going to give this one, I'm going to give this one a kill. Like a high kill. I'm like, should I do a light trek or a high kill? I'm going to do a high kill. I think it's fun. I think it's campy. That's what gives it like high. But like also, I just think Damon Bach is dumb. I think his plans are dumb. I think the storyline's half baked. I don't know what they could have done to make it better. Maybe that's something I should do, is at some point do like Screen Doctor or something and just take some of these types of episodes and say, okay, here's what could have make this episode amazing. But I can't even imagine that right now. So I think I'm going to make it a kill for me. Okay, let's roll for another episode. Episode number 4. There is no season 8. Wrote season 8 twice. Season 7, episode 11. Okay, you know how I just said I was nervous because it was season 1? Well, now I'm nervous because it's season 7. So, I don't know. I hope it's not Inheritance. Oh, yay, it's Parallels. Okay, this episode I actually like. Parallels, I'll just read the thing. Returning to the Enterprise from a competition, Worf finds reality changing and is troubled when no one else seems to notice. This is the episode where Worf comes back from a competition, a Batleth competition, and it's his birthday. And when he comes into his quarters, Riker surprises him with a birthday party. Everyone's there. The whole bridge crew is there. And they all sing him happy birthday in Klingon, which is so fun. And Worf is like, that is not a Klingon song. And I think it was Troy who was like, do you know how hard it was to translate jolly into Klingon? And they're having like cake and just like having a good time. And then reality starts shifting because this episode is so fun just for the Easter eggs alone. It's just so fun to watch. But I think they're eating like vanilla cake or something. And then someone's like, oh, unfortunately, the captain can't be here. And then all of a sudden he turns around and like the captain is there. And now they're eating chocolate cake. And Worf is like, wait, wasn't that just vanilla cake? And they're like, no. And he's like, Captain, I thought you weren't going to be here. And he's like, I wouldn't miss it for the world. And it's just like, and then Data had given him this painting, but then the painting changes and like things just keep shifting. And at first it's really subtle. And then it starts getting more and more and more dramatic. His uniform changes color. Suddenly Troy's in his room, in his bed. And he's like, what is going on right now? She's stroking his hair. And he's like, what? He's like, this is very inappropriate. And she's like, for your wife? And he's like, wife? Suddenly they're married. And he's like, what the heck is going on? So as he's trying to figure out and get to the bottom of what exactly is going on in this scenario, time keeps shifting, but more and more dramatically. And then at some point he's like, okay, I need to go back to my own reality. And then Troy's like, but what about our kids? And he's like, what kids? And she's like, we've got a little boy and a little girl. And he's like, oh my gosh, last shift, we didn't have any kids. So then because of this, I guess his shuttle went through some kind of, rip in space time or whatever. And it was causing all the Enterprises to populate in this one area of space. So as they're trying to get to the bottom of this, all these Enterprises just start popping out and popping out and popping out. And they're all hailing each other. And we see a version of the Enterprise that's been devastated by the Borg because Wolf 359 was successful and Earth is gone. And it's like Riker and Worf probably, 2 people on the ship and it's all fuzzy and his beard's all scraggly. And they're like, we're not going back. Don't make us go back. You've got all these different versions. And they do end up sending Worf back successfully. So yay, Worf. He gets to go back home. And when he arrives, he's like, maybe that Counselor Troy thing's not such a bad idea. So then he like starts dating Counselor Troy, and then that becomes sort of a thing in the end of season 7. I don't know. They reference it one other episode I can recall, but maybe 2. And then by the time you get to the movies, it's just like not even a thing anymore. But this episode's really, really good. It's one of my favorite Worf episodes, probably like along with the one where he goes to find the colony at Kittimer. I really like that episode too for Worf. What else did I want to say about this episode? I don't remember. So we're going to move on. Okay, so let me know in the chat or the comments. Is this going to be a Trek, a Marry, or a Kill? A Marry is like, it's one of the best episodes of TNG. A Kill is it's one of the worst episodes of TNG. And a Trek is anything in between. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. I'm going to read your responses and then we'll roll for another episode. Okay. Ooh, okay, DJ Magix, were you talking about this episode or the last episode? You said this episode is a kill. It's so cringe. So I don't know if you're talking about this one or if you're talking about the Damon Bach one. Wingrace says Mary twice. Dustin says Mary, maybe even Worf's best episode. DJ Magic says, oh, okay, so that was about the other episode. DJ Magic says, Mary, just because it's a dream, I want to turn into a Trek movie. Such a fun episode. PS2 Chipper says, Mary, I love me some Worf. Karen says, peptide cake. That is a different episode, Karen. That's the episode where Data starts dreaming. And it's what my co-host calls Daddy Issues Part 1. That's the episode before the episode where Worf goes to Kittimer. Where, actually, no, I'm wrong. It's not Daddy Issues Part 1. It's a totally different episode. It's where Data is having these dreams because these anaphasic organisms or whatever. That's a different episode with the peptide cake. But man, that cake looked good. The Trek reviewer says, my dad had recorded Star Trek TNG seasons 1 and 2 on VHS back in the day, so I would rewatch them during the summer of 90 and 91. So I remember all of them really well. Okay, so that's going to be helpful when we go back to, like, if we happen to roll any more seasons, season 1 or 2 things. That's going to be super helpful. Mr. Captain says, awesome episode. Yes, someone stop that ringing. Someone answer that phone. Sela says, one of my all-time favorites. This haunted Riker from the Borg infested reality gets me every time. I know, the look in his eyes, right? Where he's like, don't make us go back. And then they just blow up the ship. I mean, the ship was hanging on by a shoestring and a prayer anyways. And when it started firing on Worf, they were like, we can't let you keep firing on Worf. So they just fired one time and the whole ship blew up. And you're like, maybe that was for the best. Justin says, Mary. Gavin says, Parallels is great. I love Crazy Riker. He should have gotten his own spin-off show. So it's a Mary. The VHS tapes had a commercial on them. What a ripoff. Okay, I'm going to give this one absolutely a Mary. It is one of my favorite episodes of season 7 for sure. It's one of my favorite episodes of Worf. It's one of my favorite episodes of TNG. I don't know if it makes the top... It wouldn't make the top 10 list, but it probably would make the top 20. It's really fun. The shifting is great. And honestly, if you haven't seen this episode in a while, I highly recommend going back. There's so many tiny little changes. Like at one point they changed Data's eye color, or they changed like his skin from gold to like because the gold paint looks white on his skin, but then they change it so it actually looks green, which in the TNG Bible was the color his skin was supposed to be originally. Just so many, it's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. Moving on. Okay. Surprised that we got a good one from season 7. Let's roll again. We got another season 7. I don't think our luck is going to continue. This is season 7, episode 3, which is, oh, thank God it's not Gambit. Interface. This is the one where Geordi's mom goes missing. I'm laughing, but it's actually not, it's not funny at all. Geordi defies Picard's commands and risks his life in what appears to be a futile attempt to rescue his missing mother. So I consider season 7 to be the season of the mysterious family connections. This entire season, it's like, let's meet Worf's adopted brother. Okay, like now he's a part of the story. It's like, who else did we meet randomly? I think it was season 7 that we find out that Troy had a sister. It's season 7 that we find out Data's mom. We meet Data's mom. It's season 7 that we find out that Geordi's mom has gone missing, which is super sad. That's like kind of a lot of the episodes are something like that. Some kind of estranged family member disappears, reappears, comes into the picture. So in this episode, Geordi is using this cool probe. This is actually a really cool part of the episode. He's using this probe, but he's like so it's a mechanical probe. But somehow he can move this probe using his brain because of his visor connection something. So he hooks up to all these devices and he can move this probe through other places. Like he can touch things and turn things on and, he can see everything. That's a really cool idea. There is a ship that is stranded like in the atmosphere of some planet, I think. And the probe finds this person made out of fire. And the person says that it's Geordi's mom and is like, save me, help me, you have to help me. And Geordi's like, I have to help my mom. And because he finds out at some point in the episode that his mom has gone missing and that her ship was last seen wherever. But he believes that this ship that they're looking at has to be his mom's missing ship and his mom has to be on the ship. He believes it so strongly. No one else believes it. But, it's Star Trek. So they usually are like benefit of the doubt. And they're like, okay, Geordi, but what are the odds? And, all these things. And he's like, I know it's my mom. I know it's my mom. And then at the end, this like fire creature just turns into his mom. And he's actually seeing her. And she's like, Geordi, don't let me stay. And at some point, he's just like, wait a minute. My mom's not made out of fire, and the fire thing is like, please help. And they just like, I forget what they do with the ship in the end, if they let it fall down into the gravity well or whatever, but they don't save it. They don't pull the ship up. That's what they don't do. And in the end, it's really vague. It's kind of, okay, I'm going to ask you guys what you think. This is my interpretation. The fire thing was some kind of alien being, maybe from the planet, who got trapped in this ship. Maybe they were like sampling things and accidentally sucked it on board. Who knows? And it wanted to go back to the planet, because I think that's what is asking Geordi, like, send me back to the planet, something like that. I think he wanted to go back to the planet, and somehow it could like read Geordi's mind, thoughts, question mark, and was trying to manipulate him to get what it wanted. But in the end, it's pretty nebulous. Like in the end, he doesn't do it. He like comes back to his senses on the Enterprise. We never hear what happens to his mom. We never get any clarification or any like concrete decision that she has absolutely died, that her ship, because her ship was lost, and they were just like, it's lost, how sad, you know, but we never get that like confirmed that absolutely they tried everything. She is, I guess we do, because they were trying to convince him of that throughout the episode, so maybe we do get that. But at the end, it's a little bit vague. I remember Geordi just being like, I don't know, I guess it was just an alien creature, I don't know, guess my mom's gone, I don't know. And that's how the episode ends. You're just kind of like, what was the point of that? That's kind of my take home for this whole episode. Okay, so I'm going to check the chat. Let me know what you think. Is this a Trek, a marry, a kill? A marry's like top. A kill is obviously a kill, and Trek's anything in between. So I will check the chats, and then we'll move on to the next episode on the list, which there is no list, so I will just roll. It's so funny. I was seeing a lot of marries, and I was like, really? That's amazing. And then I realized that's all for parallels. PS2 Chipper says, I cannot recall this episode. Yeah, don't watch this one. This one's not a rewatcher. This is kind of a skip. The Trek reviewer says, this is the episode that we find out that Geordi's dad is Ben Vereen from Roots, so it's a Trek. Mr. Captain says, yeah, I'll say Trek. Dustin says, kill. This episode has so much promise, fleshing out Geordi's family and this interface we never use again, but the actual plot is just not that interesting. So many times they have such cool technology that they never use again. And I'm like, oh, but that's a cool thing. Like, somebody write this down and just, you know, it doesn't have to be every single episode because that would kill it. But like from time to time, bring back some of these things that are such cool ideas. This interface, very cool idea. Or alternately, they could have some reason why it can never be used again, right? So in Voyager, they had that slipstreams drive that they got from Arturis when he was trying to trap them into becoming Borg. And the slipstream could have taken them home like in 2 seconds. And they had that whole episode about trying to use it and how everybody died and it's so dangerous. And so at the end of the episode, they were like, we've decided that we have to dismantle the slipstream and can never use it again because it's too dangerous. So it's like they created a really cool technology, but then they had to create a reason why they can't ever use that technology again because it's too easy on the plot. DJ Magic says, sounds like a trapped paw wraith. It does sound like a trapped paw wraith. You're absolutely right. DJ Magic says low Trek. I think for me, this is going to be a kill. Many of the episodes in season 7, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know. Or I guess I could say, I want to say it's a kill. Maybe I'll give it like a high kill, similar to, it's almost where Masterpiece Society was, which was a low Trek. They're like on two sides of this thin line between kill and Trek. And the only reason I would give that one a Trek is because I really liked a lot of the aspects of that story and how they were developed. And in this episode, I don't feel like these things were very much developed because the real focus was on Geordi's obsession. But like, yeah, I don't know what else once again, I don't know what else I needed to make this better. But I'm going to give this one a kill. All right, let's roll for the next episode. Season 3, episode 5. Season 3, episode 5 is The Bonding. Oh, I like this one. When the ship's archaeologist is killed on a mission led by Worf, the Klingon feels responsible for the son she left behind. So this is the episode where Worf leads an away mission, which is exciting, you know. So the episode starts, though, with like them on the away mission, and then there's an explosion. And a woman on the away mission dies. This is the opening scene. The credits are literally rolling over her dead body as it's beamed into sickbay. And she leaves behind a young son. And so Worf is all like feeling super, super guilty and not knowing what to do. In the meantime, while this boy is trying to process the fact that he lost his mom just magically appears in his quarters and is like, hey, son, how's it going? And he's like, Mom, everyone thinks you're dead. And she's like, ha, 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 everyone's dumb. I'm totally alive. You want to make some pudding or whatever? And just starts playing mom. And you're like, what is going on right now? So it turns out that this mom is an alien being from the planet. So the planet used to have, and it's like I want to say it's non-corporeal, but it can take shape. So it is a metamorphic being. But the planet used to be populated by like fully corporeal organics. They used to, you know, who could like walk and stuff and couldn't change their shape. And there was some kind of war. And where Worf and the mom, whose name I'm blanking on, where they both beamed down was like the site of some old battles. There was a lot of mines all over the place. And because these beings don't need a physical form, it didn't affect them. Like after all of the corporeal beings were all like, I don't know, dead or moved from the planet, when they were all gone, the beings that were still there, they didn't have to do anything about the mines because the mines were not going to affect them in any way. But when the away team came and they're thinking the planet's deserted, they walked right over this landmine. And so the aliens felt super responsible and super guilty. They unearthed all the landmines so that way if any more away teams came, they could see them laying there on the ground. And then the way they wanted to kind of like make up for this accidentally killing someone, which technically wasn't really their fault because they didn't put the mines, whatever. To make up for it, they tried to take this boy, Jeremy Astor, that's his name. They try to like kidnap Jeremy and take him to the planet where they're going to create this entire false reality around him so that he can have a happy life. So they want to give his mom back. Eventually, the Enterprise crew figures this out. And they're like, that is not your mom. Your mom is gone. You know, and how confusing for this little boy. He's like, first you say she's gone, then she's back. Now she's gone. Like, what's going on? And in the end, because this being is pretty powerful, in the end, there's like a big conference call in Jeremy's room where Ghost Mom is there and Counselor Troy is there as the counselor. Picard is there as the captain. Worf is there as the guilty party next to Ghost Mom. And then Wesley's there as the representative child who lost a parent. And so they're all trying to talk sense into both Jeremy and Ghost Mom. And Wesley's kind of like, look, Jeremy, your mom's gone. You've got to learn to process blah, blah, blah. And Troy is like, look, Ghost Mom, I know you're trying to help him by giving him his mom back, but it's fake. It's not real. He needs to actually grieve and process that and also be a part of society. Like he needs to continue to be a part of the society. You can't actually meet his needs. And she was like, yes, I can. I can do anything. I can make anything appear. And she's like, yeah, what about his friends? What about this? What about that? What about an eventual love life or children or all those things? She's like, I can make all that stuff happen. It's like, but you don't know anything about humans. Like you don't know anything about our culture, our society. He needs other things other than just a simulacrum of his mom. So in the end, she's like, you know what, you're right. Ghost Mom is like, you're right. I'm doing more harm than good. It wasn't my intention. I was just trying to help. And she's like, goodbye, Jeremy. And she disappears. And the room, which had transformed into looking like their home back on Earth, whatever colony they were from, it transforms back into just like the Enterprise quarters. And now Jeremy's really sad again. Understandably so. And in the end, in the last scene, we see this bonding ritual happening between Worf and Jeremy, where basically it makes them like brothers, I think it's supposed to be, because now Worf is responsible for this kid because his mom died under Worf's leadership. Unfortunately, we never see Jeremy Astor again. So I feel like he's down there with the Rascals. I feel like this was Alexander's little buddy. But also, that's just in all reality, I'm assuming Jeremy Astor has more family than just his mom. So he probably went to live with extended family. But yeah, I think it's a little sweet that at the end, Worf is like, you know, they do this bonding ritual together. But also the fact that we never see the kid again, it feels like it undermines the connection the bonding is supposed to have. Anyways, let me know what you think about this episode. Is it a trek, a marry, or a kill? I'm going to check the chat and then we'll roll for the next episode on the list. Dustin says the theme tonight is mostly mediocre episodes. Listen, Dustin, I'm just doing what the dice say. I did not pick these episodes. That was not the intended theme. But out of 178 episodes, you got to imagine a lot of them are going to be in the middle by definition. Sela says, I watched this episode after my mother passed away. Yeah, I watched this episode before my father passed away, but also obviously many, many times since then. And this episode always gets me because I'm like, yeah, if I could have him back, absolutely. I would be going with Ghost Mom so fast. Please. Nobody would be able to tell me anything. All the stuff that Picard was saying and Troy was saying and Wesley was saying, I don't care. I don't care about any of that. I'm going to the planet with Ghost Mom. That's what I would have done. So it's good that I did not get that choice. Dustin gives this a trek. He says, it's got a good message, but it's kind of all over the place with the creepy resurrected mom. She's super creepy, right? When she shows him, she's like, hey, Jeremy. You're like, oh. But she's trying to imitate the video that he's watching, but it comes across super creepy. PS2 Chipper, the alien was a child. Nope, that's another episode called Future Imperfect, where the alien is a child. In this one, the alien's a human, but his mom, his human mom, died, and so this alien pretended to be his mom. So that's why I call her Ghost Mom. The Trek review says, this episode is with Worf's adopted son that we never see again. Trek. Yeah, that's the Riker episode, yeah. Worf episodes are always great. Wingrace says, Trek, but it isn't in my top at all. Okay, so like a low Trek. Let's see. I'm gonna give this one a Trek. I just don't have the heart to kill this one. I just can't kill it. Like, I think Ghost Mom's creepy, but I really resonate as a child who lost my parent around the same age as Jeremy. I was a little bit older than Jeremy. I totally resonate with this episode. It's so personal to me that I couldn't possibly give it a kill. So it's for sure a Trek. DJ Magic says Trek-ish. Wingrace says there's also the one with the alien girl imaginary friend. Yes, also super creepy. Let's see if we get that one. That'd be a fun one to roll. All right, let's roll for the next episode. Season 2, episode 3. All right, Trek reviewer, can you remember that off the top of your head before I look it up? Season 2, episode 3. Oh, Elementary Dear Data. Elementary Dear Data. Oh, let me read the thing. Data poses as Sherlock Holmes to decipher a puzzle that threatens Dr. Pulaski's life. So we're 3 episodes in here, and Pulaski gets kidnapped by Moriarty. I say keep her, but Picard's like, we got to get her back. So that they do that. That's what the episode is. They're trying to get her back. So basically, which I just, this is so much fun. I love Sherlock Holmes. So this is such a fun episode. Data's pretending to be Sherlock, and he's in the holodeck with Geordi, and Geordi has this awful British accent, which I also find hilarious. And he solves the crime really, really easily because he's Data. And Geordi's like, that's not fun. Like, we need to play something that you can't automatically guess because you already know all of Sherlock Holmes' stories back and forth. So Geordi says something to the effect of computer create a Sherlock Holmes story that's like capable of beating Data or something like that. And he said, and the way he said it had the computer create Moriarty, which was Sherlock Holmes's nemesis, but created him with the intelligence level of Data, as close as the holodeck could get. So basically made this hologram sentient. So interesting. I think this episode's fine, but I absolutely love Ship in a Bottle. And Ship in a Bottle is directly what happens now from this episode. So Moriarty is like, what? You know, he starts to get sentient, and he's like, he wants to stop his criminal ways, and he wants to get off of the holodeck, and he finds a way to actually control the ship from inside the holodeck. So basically Picard, and he kidnaps Pulaski in order to, not blackmail, what's the word? Manipulate the crew of the Enterprise into letting him off the holodeck because he wants to be free and he wants to go out there. And Picard's trying to reason with him, and he's just like, look, crime is crime, and you can't be getting out and doing crime, but also you're a holodeck character. You can't leave the holodeck. And Moriarty's like, I'm pretty sure you could find a way. And so Picard convinces him they just don't know how, they just don't have the ability to do that yet, but he promises that they will work hard and find a way to get him off the holodeck. So in the end, Moriarty relents. He lets Pulaski go, and he lets the Enterprise go, and they kind of like shake hands on the solemn promise that Picard's going to work hard and connect with all the scientists from the Daystrom Institute and throughout Starfleet to try to find a way to help this sentient holodeck program live. So what do you think? Is this episode a trek, a marry, or a kill? Let me know in the comments in the chat, and then I'll let you know my thoughts. Beep, 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 beep. PS2 Chipper says marry. Dustin says Trek on the verge of marry. Pulaski starts to take Data seriously. Yeah, Pulaski had a lot. I don't know why they invited Pulaski to this. Geordi and Data were leaving the holodeck, and she saw them in their garb, and probably Geordi said, oh, we were just doing this Sherlock Holmes thing. And then Pulaski just starts shooting shots because that's what she does. Like, not in a good way. She starts being like, oh, yeah, like Data could ever do that. Like, Data could be this. Like, Data could be that. Blah, 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 blah. Doing her thing. And then they're like, well, why don't you come with us? I remember watching that and being like, I don't get it. But they're like, why don't you come with us so you can see what Data can do? And she's like, I would like that. Now, what I will say is the costumes, Dustin, can you agree with me on this? The costumes are so epic. I want all of them. They look so good. Karen says, Mary, this is why semantics matter. Yes, that is so true. PS2 Chipper says, shows how powerful the computer is. Seriously, this is another piece of tech that they don't ever use again. Computer make anything sentient. Wingrace says, Mary, this so much. Karen says, and Picard, unlike Worf, keeps his promises. Oh, I know, poor little Jeremy. Sela says, Trek, I love the depiction of London. It's so cool. I don't think I've seen a 1950s version of Sherlock Holmes. I've read all the books. I've watched a lot of different TV shows and movies based off Sherlock Holmes, but not all of them, not by any stretch of the imagination. I've read all of Arthur Conan Doyle stories, but all of like the spin-offs and fanfics and all of that, no, and all of the movies and spin-offs, no, as well. The costumes are spot on. I love Diana Muldaur in particular. Her dress is everything. She looks so amazing. They all look so amazing. Even the cobblestones are beautiful. The steam they pipe in is beautiful. Like the London that they create is so magical. I think they kill it. It's so beautiful. Yes. And Worf in the Victorian garb. Literally everyone. Was Worf there? I don't remember Worf being there, but everybody looks great in the holodeck. The Great Mouse Detective is the best. I forgot about that movie till right now. It is great. For this episode, I'm going to give it a high Trek. I'm not going to give it a Mary. Ship in a Bottle to me is a Mary instantly. This one is like not as good as that one. Like I like it a lot. So I'm going to give it a Trek plus. I'm going to give it a high Trek. Geordi brought his holographic girlfriend to be sentient later on. Yeah, exactly. Why didn't Geordi try this again? Why he did it with Leah Brahms, but why didn't he like make me a girlfriend not modeled off of a Starfleet engineer? DJ Magic says, man, these recaps are totally seen in the new shows. This is almost the same as the Strange New Worlds hologram episode. Yes, they were doing more, yes, but I think that was more of like a Dixon Hill kind of a vibe, more than it was a Sherlock Holmes. So that was more of an homage to Picard's holodeck time, I think, than it was to Geordi and Data's. Worf got dressed and then stood outside when the doors didn't work. Oh, I don't remember that. Okay, I will look that up. Thank you for that, Trek reviewer. All right, let's roll and find the next one. I was surprised we found such a good one in season 2. All right, season 6, episode 7. Rascals. Oh, I like this one too. Oh, let me read the thing. I just want to like tell you what it's about, but let me read the thing in case it's a good description. A bizarre transporter mishap transforms Picard and 3 other staff members into children, just as Ferengi invade and disable the ship. This episode's really fun. On our podcast, the TNG Podcast, we actually got a chance to interview the woman who co-wrote this episode. It was her and her dad. She wrote this episode, and her original vision for this episode was so different from what it became. So originally, her and her dad had this story where some of the kids became, or some of the crew members became like babies, like nonverbal babies, basically. And their minds were also babies, and they were trapped on this planet where I don't think it was a transporter accident in that case. It was something that happened on the planet, some kind of technology that turned them into babies. And then the babies were like kidnapped. They were like held on the planet by the people who wanted like babies. So the Enterprise crew had to try to kind of save and recover these kids. And then they were like all traumatized. And then they had like all the, I don't know, it was just like a very dark and serious story that they had created. So she hates this episode, even though she co-wrote it, because of how much it was changed before it got to production. And she was just, and she's a screenwriter. She teaches screenwriting. She's written a bunch of stuff. But this is like one of the things she says, where she was like, if you write a story about 2 nuns in, what did she say? Like, if you write a story about 2 nuns in Oklahoma, the story's going to end up being about 2 detectives in New York. She was like, it's always going to change so much. And so she absolutely hates this episode because they wrote this like dark, serious tale about facing childhood trauma and all of this, and it ended up being Rascals, which is nothing like a dark, serious tale facing childhood trauma. So after hearing her, I was like, oh yeah, I could see why you would absolutely hate this episode. And I was like, but me watching it as a kid, I love this episode. I was like, it's kids. And I was a kid at the time, so it was so fun and so relatable. I don't know how I'd feel about it as an adult watching it, like for the first time, but as a kid watching it, I was just delighted. So there's a transporter accident that turns Keiko, Ro, Guinan, and Picard into children. They all take it differently, understandably so. They're different people with very different life circumstances. So Picard tries to keep running the ship, and everyone's just like, seriously, is this 12-year-old giving us orders? Until Beverly comes to him separately and is like, Captain, I think you should step down. And Picard's like, why? My mind's still sharp. Da-da-da-da. And he's like, because you're 12. Like, yes, we respect you and everything, but like, yeah, let's work on you getting better, you know? So he's finally like, fine, I guess so. So he gives up command temporarily. Guinan is thrilled because she's from such a long-lived species. She hasn't been a kid for a long time, like thousands of years or something. So she's just like living her best life. She's like, I'm a kid. What can I do? Let's jump on the bed. Let's color. You know, she's all excited. Ro is very emo about the whole thing because when she was a kid, she was in a refugee camp. So she doesn't really know how to be a kid. She doesn't know what that even means. And she's upset that this was forced upon her, you know, that her body was changed. She tells Guinan, we've been violated, you know, like she is just not having it. And then Keiko is married. So this is awkward because O'Brien is just like, ugh, I'm not into kids. You know what I mean? Like I'm glad that they put that in with him being like, nope. Because she's like trying to snuggle with him and stuff. And he's like, ugh, like just weirded out by the whole thing. And she's like, oh, let me get you your coffee. And he's like, careful, that's hot. And she's like, Miles, I know. And you're just like, this is so awkward. And then the baby, because at this point, Molly's already born. And the baby's like, I want mommy to read me a story. And Keiko's like, here I come, honey. And she walks in and the baby's like, not you, I want my mommy. And Keiko's like, oh, the baby doesn't recognize me, you know? You're just like, oh. So the question they ask at some point, someone asks Picard, if this is irreversible, what would you do with your life? And he's like, I don't know. I guess go back to the academy. I could follow my passion of archaeology, basically as a second lease on life. No one asked this question of Keiko, but that's the question that I think of. I didn't think of it as a kid, but as an adult, I'm just like, you're married with a kid, but now you're also 12. What are you going to do if this is irreversible? Because this, you and O'Brien, that's not going to be a thing. So what's the plan? And then the worst part is like, yeah, they all look 12, but their minds are not 12. They have all the experience they've ever had, but it's trapped in this little body that can't do anything. At the same time, the Ferengi come and they commandeer the ship, and that's just like a whole bunch of goofy nonsense. We get to see Alexander not being a dick, so that's kind of fun. We get to see what the little preschool or schoolhouse area looks like, which is pretty cute. And then the kids save the day in like a much more lame Home Alone style. But it's cute. Like, it's a cute episode. I think it's fun, and it's just a good time. So let me know what you think in the comments or in the chat. Is this a trek, a marry, or a kill? And if you want to find that episode, you can check it out by going to the TNG Podcast, wherever podcasts are found, and then just search for Rascals. It should come up twice, or search for bonus, and you can see that. You can listen to that bonus episode. Let's see. PS2 Chipper says Trek. DJ Magic says marry. Karen says marry. It's so much fun. The Trek reviewer says Trek. Dustin says another low Trek. It's fun but pointless. And Worf's security protocols need an overhaul. Dustin, we've talked about this. All the security needs an overhaul. All the security on every starship needs an overhaul. Except for maybe DS9. I feel like Odo's pretty strict, but he also lets things slide on purpose. So I don't know. I don't know how trustworthy he is all the time. Sela says, so much fun. I love young Picard yelling for his daddy. Wingrace says, similar to the Royale, it was supposed to be dark, introspective, and existential journey about identity and the mind, and the writer took his name off of it. I would marry both that and this episode. You would marry the Royale? For me, the Royale is like getting dental work with no Novocaine. Like that episode, that episode is like, I don't know. It's so painful. And then our review of the episode was like also equally painful for me. So maybe don't listen to that one. The Trek reviewer says the kind Picard in this episode, the kid Picard played this episode, played in the same episode. Yeah, this kid, the kid who played young Picard also played his nephew Rene in the episode Family, which I thought was a really nice touch because it's like, yeah, he would look similar to his nephew because they're related. So I thought that was a nice touch, getting the same exact kid. You're my number one dad. Yeah, that line was really funny. I'm going to give this one a trek. I think it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I'm not going to give it a Mary, because it's not like, it's never going to make the top. Like, putting this next to putting this next to Parallels, putting this next to some of my absolute favorite episodes, it's like, I don't know, like, it's not going to make my top 20, but it's a fun episode that I really, really enjoy. So I will give it for sure a trek, maybe in a high trek, but I'm not going to give it a Mary. All right, let's roll. Let's see what's next. Season 1, episode 11. All right, wish me luck. We're going into season 1. Let's see what we're going to get. It is Haven. Okay, I remember this one. Counselor Deanna Troi is caught between her feelings for Riker and her devotion to family customs when she faces a prearranged marriage. So in this episode, I don't even know how I feel about this episode. In this episode, it starts out with this ornate box being transported into the transporter room, and like nobody could open it. And then Counselor Troi walks in, as she does. She just kind of roams through different rooms, I guess, on the ship. And she walks in, and then when it sees her, it like a face pops up on this chest, and it starts singing or something, and then it opens. And basically it's like, hey, remember that arranged marriage? It's time. And she's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So then this doctor comes on board, Dr. McDreamy, whose name I don't remember, but he's just like the sweetest thing ever. And he comes on and he's like, hey, you know, we're supposed to get married, so I don't know, you want to like go on a date or something? So they're kind of talking and hanging out, and he's disappointed when he sees her, and she's like, I could sense, something told me, I could feel that you were disappointed. And he was like, well, no, the thing is that I thought you were going to look different. And then he shows her his sketch pad, and he's got like a million sketches of this one woman that he's been dreaming about for apparently his whole life or adolescence or I don't know what. And he's like, I thought you must be her because I've been seeing her all the time. But now that I met you, you don't match her at all. So I guess it was just like some random fantasy. And Troi says something, I mean, she does her counselor thing, right? She says something like, oh, you know, what are you really disappointed? Is that who you really want? Whatever. And he's just like, it's a childhood fantasy. It's fine. Like, don't even worry about it. So they're both being very professional about the whole thing. In the meantime, Riker is like pouting. I can't believe you're going to marry some other guy. No. That was irritating. You had your chance many a time. Get out of here. But he's whining to her the whole time. And then this is where you see Gene Roddenberry really come through in the dialogue, where they're sitting in the holodeck talking, Riker and Troi, and he's just like huffing and like, I don't want to look at you. And then she says something to the effect of, do you think there's only enough love in my heart for one person? Of course not. There's love for so many, because that's what Gene was into, love for so many. So I can still love you and be with you, presumably, while loving him and being with him. I don't think it was supposed, well, actually, I don't know, but I don't think it was supposed to be a direct, like, arrangement of being like, hey, we can still hook up. I don't think that was it. I think she was just saying, like, I will marry this guy because that is what I'm supposed to do, but I will also still love you at the same time, and it's fine. Like, it's fine. And she said something like, humans can't do that. They don't have enough love in their hearts to love more than one person at the same time. And Riker was like, it's difficult. And then Dr. McDreamy walks in, and he's like, oh, am I interrupting? And they're like, no, not at all. Of course not. So anyways, later on, this ship from some alien species has some kind of, is this where we get Tyrellian from? They have some kind of like deadly disease that's afflicting their people, and all their people are going to die if they don't find a cure. And this is the exact thing that this doctor has been working on for his whole career. So when the ship comes into view, the Enterprise is like, we have to blow it up. We can't let this ship like cross into Federation space because it's going to contaminate all of us or whatever. The ship comes into view, and they hail the Enterprise, and they're like, look, we don't want to mix with anybody. We're not going to leave our ship. We're going to stay quarantined. We just came because my daughter had this vision or something that we needed to come here, and our cure was going to be here or whatever. And the daughter is the same woman that this guy's been sketching on his pad forever and ever. And he's like, it's you. And she's like, it's you. So apparently she's been dreaming of him. I don't know. And so he transports himself over to that ship, which basically is giving him a death sentence because you can't leave because they're all quarantined because of their deadly disease. So he's like, I'm so sorry, Troi. You were a bud, but this is where I'm meant to be. And he like goes off with him forevermore, presumably curing them at some point. So yay, happy ending for all. That's the episode. So let me know what you think. Is it a trek, a marry, or a kill? Oh, I'm going to read your comments in the chats. Let me know in the chat in the comments. And then we will roll for our last episode of the night. You're my number one dad. Oh, Dustin says this is the very first Lwaxana episode. I guess that makes sense. 111. It's early in the season. PS2 Chipper says Trek. Sela says Troy calls Riker Bill in this episode. She also calls him Bill in the season premiere in Encounter at Farpoint. And in the TNG Bible, which is like the director's notes, like Gene Roddenberry's notes basically on all these characters, like it's just like a paragraph, but all these characters and their interactions and how they're supposed to be, it says specifically that because of their history together, Troy calls Riker Bill, even though everyone else calls him Will. So they did keep that going for a couple of episodes, and then they just dropped it. And I'm glad they dropped it because it's weird. Like when she says it, you're just like, Bill, who's that? Who are you even talking to? By the way, if you want to get a copy of the TNG Bible, you can go to thetngpodcast.com and you can sign up to get that there, or you can just Google it. It's on the internet somewhere. Dustin says kill. So we got a trek, and then a kill with an explanation. Kill. While we learn a bunch of stuff about Betazoid culture, the forced marriage plot is dumb. But also, how can this guy be the secret son of a group of people quarantined for decades? I don't think he was the son of them, was he? Is that what they said? I thought this was more like a mystical connection that he had with these people. But I don't really remember, and I'm not going to watch the episode again to find out. The box in this episode was voiced by Armin Shimmerman. Huh, who knew? Who went on to play Quark in DS9. Dustin says Lwaxana's living plant dress was funny, but Yar's hair in the same dinner scene is the worst hair in all of Star Trek. Wait a minute. Didn't we have that crazy rope braid that Una was wearing in Strange New Worlds? I don't know. We also had Troy's giant galactic cheerleader hair in season 1. There's a lot of worse hair moments. No. I take that back. That's not even fair. There are a tiny, small handful of worse hair moments. For the most part, everybody looks immaculate. But every once in a while, you're like, what happened there? The Trek reviewer says, I will say I did like that alien ship in this episode. Wingrace says, you're in the top 0.001% for knowing about this episode. I know, right? Oh, Randall says that Yar's hair was a wig. Interesting. Okay, so we got a couple treks and we got a kill. Anybody else? For me, this episode is definitely a kill. Wait, should I make it a trek? Is there any reason to make it a trek? I do think the Doctor's really sweet. Yep, kill. Yep, kill. I'm trying to think of reasons why I'd be like, well, yeah, but no, I can't think of any. I'll say a high kill, because it's not like some of the horrible episodes. It's just very bleh. It's kind of meh. Okay, the last episode on the list is season 1, episode 12. And the very next episode, which is The Big Goodbye, which I remember this one too. When the holodecks malfunction, the captain and 3 crew members become trapped in San Francisco 1941, where they are held hostage by murderous gangsters. It sounds so much more exciting than the episode actually is. I think this is our first holodeck episode. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think this is our first holodeck episode where that's the whole thing going on. And the holodeck is a new piece of technology. So there was no holodeck in TOS. This is like a new thing, and they want to show us what all it can do, which is pretty cool. So this is where we see Picard running his Dixon Hill program, which is just fun, and he's this noir detective. And this is where we see some of the weirdest moments between Beverly and Picard. So Beverly is trying to get Picard to ask her on a date, and Picard's like not catching the clues and the hints. It's weird, and it's really funny. It's really awkward, it's really cringy, and it's really funny all at the same time. But they end up going on a date and inviting several other people on the date to go into the holodeck. And as soon as they're on the holodeck, malfunction. So the safeties go off, and now the gangsters' bullets are real. And, oh gosh, what's this guy's name? They had some random, I want to say a red shirt, but like they don't do that in TNG. But they had some random guy there who, I don't remember what his job was on the ship or why he came. Was he a historian? For some reason, this other guy came with them. This other guy we only see in this episode and never again. He came with them, and the gangsters came in, and they were like, hey, Dixon Hill, do this or that for us or whatever. And so this guy was like, oh, let's play along. And he was like getting all tough. And they were like, you want to see tough? And they shoot him in the stomach. And he like really gets shot. And Beverly's like, oh my gosh. And then that's when they start freaking out like, oh, wait, the safeties are off. We could all die. And they're like trying to keep him alive and trying to figure out how to close the program, in the program, get out. No one could get in. They can't get, typical holodeck shenanigans. They can't get out. No one can get in. No one can beam them out because transporter something. So then they're like, the only way to get out is to make this program run to the end. And in order for it to end, the gangster wants to get like power, money, control, things that gangsters want. And Picard tells them about the fact that it's a holodeck and a fake world. And he breaks all the rules for what you're supposed to do with holodeck characters. But this is their first holodeck episode, so they're still making the rules up as they go. And this character is aware of the holodeck and is like, okay, this is a holodeck. Okay, it's fake. Well, I want the real world. So they open the doors and he's like, I want to go out to your world because now I'm going to be the mob boss of the whole enterprise. And Picard's like, do that. Definitely do that. So the gangster walks out of the holodeck and he's like, I'm free. And then he's like, wait, something weird is going on. And then he just dissolves from like the bottom up. And then it's like the program ends and they're able to leave or whatever. And it's just so funny. Like, they are still establishing the rules of how the holodeck works, right? So what they establish by the end of TNG, what they establish by the, middle of Voyager, so all the things that they establish about what holodecks can and can't do, makes this episode seem so silly because you're like, there's no holo emitters in the hallway. Like, there's somebody, like, how does a holodeck character know that it's holodeck? It's just all these questions. But at this stage, none of that is true. None of that has been established. They're just playing around with what they can do with this world. And I think it's kind of fun. And I think it was an interesting choice to go to a noir detective that is like so far apart from anything that a Starfleet captain would be doing. So I think it was a fun escape. It definitely wasn't creepy like all of Janeway's holodeck novels, which are super creepy. So anyways, what do you think? Is this a trek, a marry, or a kill? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. I'm going to read the comments and then give you my opinion. When Grace said, I actually trek with it. Now, are you talking about this episode or are you talking about the last episode? Just for clarity. Because the last thing I read was the bad wig. The Trek reviewer says, marry the big goodbye. PS2 Chipper says, is that the one with Data holding the car? Oh, maybe? Maybe? I don't remember. PS2 Chipper says, marry. Sela says, I absolutely love this episode. Loved the metaphysical ending with Picard and the other cop. Dustin says, kill. It's different, but it's not my favorite. Randall says, Data holds the car when the ship's computer might come alive. Oh, right, with the taxis that were like trying to hit him, and the taxis kept trying to like run him over, and then he just held the taxi and was just like, stop. And it was just like spinning its wheels with all the yeah, that was a fun episode. PS2 Chipper says, remember the snowballs. Yeah, that was like, I want to say it was the first episode because Wesley was playing with some other kid in the holodeck and then they threw a snowball and hit Picard in the face or something. And then Wesley was like, oh, sorry, sir. And that was another one where you're like, wait, but if it's artificial snow, it wouldn't exist outside the holodeck. So interesting. Oh, this one. Okay, so When Grace for this one says, I actually trek with it. Okay. So for me, this episode, I'm between a trek and a kill. I think having a holodeck episode was fun. I think the noir idea was really fun. I think the episode itself is like not awesome. There's some parts that I think are really funny. I think the flirtation between Beverly and Picard and him just like not picking up on the hints, I think that's really funny. But I think the whole gangster plot line was kind of like meh for me. Similar to the Royale, like we were just talking about, where I was like, that episode it was another one with like the gangsters and whatever was going on in that episode. So I think I'm going to give this one a kill. But like a high kill. Like, I can see why people like it. All right, so that is it for me. The Trek reviewer says, William Boyette, who played Detective Dan Bell, played a cop in at least 10 different series, most notably the 1960s police show Adam 12, where he played Sergeant McDonald. I will say there is such a thing as typecasting. Some people just like play a good cop. Some people just play a good mob boss. Like some people they just do that role so well that people just want to hire them to do it over and over and over and over. The thing with the snowball is it might be real snow. They do say at some point that some things are projected, but some things are replicated matter. Perhaps. And to that point, like, do you remember that episode, We'll Always Have Paris, which I hate? In that episode, they go to the holodeck to have dinner, Picard and this other guy's wife, who was like an old flame of his. And they like go to have dinner. And so I do wonder, so I'm like, I guess the food and drink must be replicated in the holodeck for you to have dinner in the holodeck. Like Geordi was in there having Coco No-Nos in the Leah Brahms episode. So presumably things can be replicated to interact with other than just like a projected reality. Because they also, sit on chairs or like, pick things up. So I don't know. I don't get it. But in any case, that is it for tonight. We have finished all 10 episodes. I will drop the timestamps tomorrow, maybe. Thank you so much for everyone who joined me live. Thank you so much for everyone who joined me on the replay. Next week, we will get to another topic. We won't be doing a Trek, Marry, Kill. I have a lot of ideas, but I haven't picked one yet. So you will find out next time. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, we will drop down here to enjoy some Trek conversation. Thank you all and have a good one. Live long.